Ready, set, go.
Hello, welcome to a reaction video to an album that I've been waiting for a good little bit. This is an artist that I am quite a big fan of, quite frankly. We are listening to the new album, Older, by Lizzy McAlpine. I love Lizzy. 5 Seconds Flat was one of my top 3 favorite albums that came out in the year that it came out. I can't remember what year it came out. But yeah, freaking love that album. I was so excited to hear that she was releasing another one this year. And here we are. It's out. It's been a couple weeks since it came out. And I'm finally able to sit down and take a listen. And that's what we're gonna do. There were a couple things that she has said in various sources about this album that kind of make it seem like this might be slightly different than 5 Seconds Flat or her previous album, which was Give Me a Minute. So she said, this is a project she hopes will be a more raw reflection. Mistakes in the recording studio may end up on the final cut, which I think is a pretty cool artist choice. To just let your sheer the sound of you and let it be a very honest record. If mistakes, kind of contribute to the feel and aesthetic of the album, are they really mistakes? I would say nah is exactly what I would say. She also said this album is much closer to what she actually sounds like as an artist compared to her past projects, and that it was inspired by 70s singer-songwriters as well as Elliott Smith and Andy Schauf. So now that kind of gives us an idea of what we're going to be listening at, let's take a look at sort of the concrete facts about this album. We got 14 tracks, adding up to about 45 minutes. Nothing too crazy there. Couple of these tracks are under 2 minutes, but at least a minute and a half. So I don't know if those are interludes or if this is or if these are just going to be short songs, but I guess we'll find out. We're going to start with track 1, titled The Elevator. I recently finished reading a book. Earlier this year I finished reading a book called The Intuitionist. It was like a mystery novel about elevator inspectors. It was way more interesting than that makes it sound, and it's one of those books that makes certain things I'm never gonna look at an elevator the same way now that I've read that book. So let's see what Lizzy has to say about this particular elevator. I'm very excited. Ooh, starting with some piano. Ooh.
It wasn't slow, it happened fast.
There she is.
And suddenly
Okay.
the only thing I saw was you.
Okay. Ooh. Ooh. Those are some Dodie harmonies.
And suddenly I had everything to lose.
Oh. The little melodic choices that Lizzy McAlpine. Actually, I put sort of, when I'm listening to music that I like, Lizzy McAlpine and Dodie take a very similar, pretty much they're on the same shelf of like, if I'm going into my bookcase, my mental bookcase of music that I want to enjoy, and I'm looking at all the shelves, both Lizzy McAlpine and Dodie provide very similar musical and emotional experiences. Slightly different between the two artists, but very, very similar. And I both of them are very, very talented with their vocal melody choices. Lizzy has this really strong ability to tell a story with her melodies, her vocal melodies particularly. I love. I can. She's one of those artists that I sit and like just try to follow what she's trying to do with each of the notes in each verse, even trying to figure out what kind of picture she's trying to paint. It's kind of like writing that you can really like sink your teeth into. Oh,
Can we stay
ooh,
like this forever?
I like that guitar.
Can we be here in this room till we die? I think we can make it. I hope that I'm right.
Oh, that slide guitar. Oh, what? Ooh, that's okay. A couple things happening band-wise. So first off, you got that beautiful slide guitar. One of the things that I kind of miss from other music that you really only find much in like maybe folk, but mostly country music, is the slide guitar, which is just such an underrated instrument. So nice to listen to. But also a couple of things there, both the acoustic guitar and the snare are the snare in particular. Maybe they're using brushes. I would not be surprised in the least if they were playing that snare with brushes, because it's so crispy and crunchy. It's a crispy crunch kind of snare. And it really does lend well to that kind of like 70s singer-songwriter sound that she was referring to earlier. It was really, really like just all of that came in where it was like, hey, were you waiting for the 70s? Because it's coming in right now. It's coming in hot and heavy. What is that lowering? Is that a wind instrument or is that... Ooh. Okay. Well, that's the elevator. Okay. I don't want to look too much into the lyrics just because it's a short opening track, so I feel like she's just kind of setting some expectations for what we're going to be hearing in this. So she's setting some thematic elements and as well as the sort of musical elements that we're going to be finding, throughout the album. But thematically, there's only 2 verses here. So it wasn't slow, it happened fast, and suddenly the only thing I saw was you. I didn't know the half of it, and suddenly I had everything to lose. Can we stay like this forever? Can we be here in this room till we die? I think we can make it. I hope that I'm right. So, I think we're starting this album in love. The narrator has found themselves in this relationship. It happened fast. They didn't necessarily expect to find themselves in this relationship, and suddenly they were all in. And now it's just this matter of like, can we stay like this forever? Can we can we keep this momentum going? Can we just be in this state until we die? Which, having that as opening beat does not necessarily bode well. Because if you had this as your final track, You might be able to call that a happy ending. Might be able to. It's a little sort of ominous with the can we be in this room till we die, and maybe puts a little bit of a damper on things, makes it seem, gives it that extra flavor of too good to be true. But we're starting things off here, so I have a feeling things will not stay like this forever. Things might get worse, and I'm ready for that. I'm ready for things to get worse. Not worse musically, just like I'm ready for things to be sad. If it's a Lizzy McAlpine album, things are gonna get sad. I don't know what to tell you. I don't make the rules here. So we're gonna keep moving to track number 2, Come Down Soon. Is this like coming down from a high? Is it asking a friend to come on down soon? Probably both. Probably a play on words. Might be both. Let's find out.
He leans out the window of the car.
Does he?
As it rolls
Okay.
away.
Ryan, is this the same car that we were driving recklessly in the last album? She likes to write songs about cars and the experience of riding in a car.
Knows me too well, so he parks just to walk me in.
Aw.
He says, do you wanna leave yet? Only if I leave with him.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm very much hearing the 70s singer-songwriter song come in here. You got the, like, straight, not quite 4 on the floor drums, but it's a very straightforward, kind of, like, steady beat. You got that, like, the acoustic guitars coming through really, really clearly. You can hear the texture of the strings, and it's all coming in. And that piano as well.
Oh, you'll come down soon.
Ooh, I like those hits.
Nothing this good ever lasts this long for me.
Oh.
Oh, you'll come down soon. You'll see. Oh, you'll come down soon.
Nice. Oh, that's so good.
Nothing this good's ever really good for me.
Damn, that's a line. Okay.
Oh, you'll come down soon. You'll see. Here's
Alright.
a cigarette he offers in his outstretched hand. I remind him I don't smoke these. He says I knew that.
One thing that I noticed, particularly in 5 Seconds Flat, and she talked about this in a number of interviews, is that Lizzy McAlpine very much draws a lot of inspiration, and has drawn a lot of inspiration from theater and musical theater particularly, which showed up quite a bit in 5 Seconds Flat. As showing up in, smaller doses here, she's also drawing a lot of inspiration from other, singer-songwriter artists. She's very much sort of a Phoebe Bridgers sort of aspirant, if you will. And so she's really styled herself as this person that tells these very specific stories. And she does that both with the lyrics and the pacing of it, and also her melody. But the musical theater of it is the way that she delivers certain lines. With the, I don't smoke these, and then he says, I knew that. You don't, that's kind of it's one of those imperfections that has shown up on the final cut of the album, where it's not necessarily a perfect execution of whatever that note is, but it's kind of dropping into that conversational tone that you might do in a musical number, where you're singing a line, and then maybe the final, you would get another line where you're just saying, you're just saying a line as if it's dialogue. She does a lot of that. It's a nice way of getting you to kind of tune in to the story and kind of immerse yourself in the world by dropping in these just sort of like, this is how he would have said it. And it somehow works in the song as well because it's still attached to the melody. Oh, we're spacing out now. Nice. She's just kind of noodling around and I love it. Nice. Interesting. Okay. I like that. I feel like because it's gonna be a chiller vibe of an album, generally, I'm assuming. Maybe there'll be a couple like high energy bangers on here. But you might find that even if I absolutely love this album by the end, my reactions to these songs are gonna be a little bit less dramatic than other reactions might have been. Just because it's a chill vibe, you know? We're gonna read the lyrics. We're gonna talk about them. But musically, I feel like we're gonna be relatively subdued here. I'm happy to be surprised, but just because I'm not freaking out doesn't mean I don't absolutely love this. I just love it in its respective energy. I liked that last section because it felt like she put in that last section of just kind of like vocalizing and kind of letting the band kind of jam out. That's kind of her way of expressing that like biding time until this relationship falls apart, which very much I get the sense that that's kind of what this song was about. That's the come down. When is this relationship that seems like a good thing, when's it gonna show itself to be a bad thing or at best a temporary thing? Which I totally get. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a specific point in my life where I'm gonna very much relate to this album, or at least to the first part of this album. I feel like she's very much telling kind of a linear story. Like we started with the elevator, which is sort of your overture. Like she found herself in a relationship. It was a good thing. Let's see how it plays out. And now Come Down Soon is kind of bringing you to the actual start of the story where they first meet and they're kind of flirting a bit. They're kind of going out, but there's nothing been really, really established quite yet, right? They know each other very well. They're getting close. Verse 2, I think, gives a really good picture of it. Where it goes, here's a cigarette he offers in his outstretched hand. I remind him I don't smoke these. He says, I knew that. Someone opens a window, music spills onto the dirt, but we stand here in the freezing cold and wonder who will kiss who first. So there's enough of a relationship there that like they can be together alone and it feels normal, but there's still this sort of unspoken attraction, this sort of extra feeling that hasn't quite been explicitly communicated yet. This is sort of like the pre-romantic era, as I like to call it. Is kind of what we're looking at here. And then the chorus is, it'll come down soon. Nothing goes this good ever lasts this long for me. It'll come down soon, you'll see. And then they do the same thing, but instead it's nothing this good's ever really good for me. Which, this is another entry in the world of songs that people have written being like, I get, like, I think Haley Williams wrote a song for the newer Paramore album that had a similar sentiment to it of like, whenever there's something good in my life that comes along, I assume that there's got to be something unhealthy for it, or that I don't actually deserve it, or that I shouldn't actually enjoy it because I either don't deserve it or it'll be gone soon. It's a really tragic, like, the fact that that's a pattern in a lot of today's, like, songwriters, to have that feeling of like, I don't actually deserve nice things in my life, I don't deserve to be in healthy relationships, is sad. Like, we gotta work on that, myself included. It's interesting to see that kind of come up as a pattern in a lot of modern music, which is just like, I very much relate to that chorus. You get to that point where you've been in enough relationships that when you get into a new one, you're like, okay, this is great, and maybe it could last, but you don't actually know what that means or even what it looks like. It becomes really, really easy to imagine the end of a relationship because you've had that happen so many times that it's pretty easy to picture. But the idea of forever is in itself so hard to imagine that in the context of a relationship, it's kind of hard to visualize things actually working out in the long term, which then feeds into the thing of like, maybe things shouldn't be forever. Maybe I'm being egotistical or selfish for thinking that I could have something forever, right? And I think that's kind of what we're getting at in this song. Let's keep going. We're on to track number 3, Like It Tends to Do. I don't know what tends to do what. Something tends to do like it tends to do. Yeah. Ooh. Slightly out of tune? Or like, at least the timbre of it is interesting. We're also playing around with timing.
I don't know what to do with my hands anymore.
Right.
Feels exactly like it was, but at the same time it feels so different.
Are things falling apart already? Lizzy, are things going sideways already, or is that just your perception? It's probably, it might be both. But, geez, we're at track 3 and things are already seemingly falling apart.
If we were standing in the same room, would we be in separate corners? Would I actively avoid you?
Unless this is about a different person.
If we were standing in the same room,
Oh, her little runs that she sneaks in.
would you find a little window and finally make your move? Would it feel like it felt when we had nothing to lose? Or would everything have changed like it tends to do?
Ah. Interesting. So that's what we're referring to. We'll get into the lyrics a little bit more at the end here, obviously. But, man, we're getting sad so quickly. So sad and so somber. So quickly. Ooh. Some piano. Oh, hello, cello. Ooh. 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 that's an interesting note choice.
People enter one by one, and I've stopped hoping they'll be you.
Oh.
I've been standing in the same room.
It's such a, like, things feel so surreal. Like, she's doing a great job with the production of, like, putting you into a very specific state of mind of, like, it's like disjointed and I don't want to say ominous, but just like very insecure, maybe is the word. Just very sort of like uncertain about what to do, what to do with your hands. But I get sort of the scene that she's painting here between this and the lyrics. She's doing a really great job of like creating this such a specific emotional memory, which I can think is kind of what I was referring to that she's so good at. I was talking about in the last song, where she's so good at like taking the production aspect and her own vocals and vocal melodies and kind of providing this 1-2 punch of like telling the story with the lyrics and then providing the backdrop with the musical instruments, which is, generally what you do. And she's being so careful about it and so specific, and it really, really pays off.
I can't tell if it felt like we had nothing to lose, or if everything had changed, like it tends to do.
Ooh, that's a hard cut out. Interesting. Okay. Damn. So according to the About, the song describes the wonder of how you'd interact with an ex-partner when seeing them after a long time of separation, which does make a lot of sense. I was kind of picking up on that earlier on, but I wasn't entirely sure what was going on there. She also said, this was the first song I wrote for this project back when I was finishing up 5 Seconds Flat. Immediately, it was my favorite song I'd ever written. It felt like some of my best songwriting. I knew it deserved its own place on a different project, which is super fair. Super fair. Interesting that this became her favorite song she'd ever written. It does have again, there's so much intentionality going on in like all the elements of the song that really, really shows, especially once the strings come in and you got the different, like the slide guitar and the piano coming in. There's so much. She has such a strong vision and like what you might call in the theater and acting world, such a strong directorial idea for this song. And so that it all comes together really, really nicely and feels like a very like good singular piece of art that also already fits really well on this album. That whole thing of like seeing an ex at a party or in another room after a long time of separation, again, something that past other songwriters have done. And it is a really strong vehicle for some self-reflection and also reflection on that relationship in this new context. And also just like, this is what Lizzy was getting into in this song, is kind of that dissonance of having known this person so well and so intimately for a certain amount of time, and now being so detached from that by time that you don't really know how to interact with them. It's not because you don't want to see them or because you are trying to avoid them. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But it's just that phenomenon of being like, oh, there's a certain way that I'm used to interacting with someone, but that doesn't fit the context of the relationship anymore. Like, there are so many behavioral isms that you might want to like readapt, because a lot of the time, if you've been close enough with someone and then you see them after a long amount of time, with certain relationships, you can just sink right back into those patterns. And if it's something like an old, like, you know, high school friend that you stayed in contact with and you're still friends, that's great. You just meet every so often and you know, catch up like you never left. But that's not really what you can do in a situation like this most of the time. And so it is this sort of weird, unique situation to approach where, like, do you try to talk to them, but also but also you don't know what you would talk about, but also it feels weird to just ignore it entirely and avoid them. There's so many choices that can be made in this context, and so much complex emotion that it provides a really, really nice basis for songwriting. For example, we've got so the first verse, I don't know where we stand anymore. We have cordial conversations. Don't know why I feel I'm faking something. I don't know what to do with my hands anymore. Feels exactly like it was, but at the same time it feels so different. Which is exactly what I was talking about. Is, you know, to a certain extent, you might not have changed all that much, and they might not have changed all that much. So some of those old, you know, conversation patterns might still come up. But because you are, you know, depending on how long of a time it's been, you're a slightly different person than you were before. And so you're trying to fit yourself back into that person that you were when you were with them. Which is kind of why you feel like you're faking something and you don't know what to do with your hands anymore, because you're trying to fit yourself back into patterns that are no longer part of who you are, right? And then the chorus is, if we were standing in the same room, would we be in separate corners? Would I actively avoid you? If we were standing in the same room, would you find a little window and finally make your move? Would it feel like it felt when we had nothing to lose, or would everything have changed like it tends to do? Which I would say it's unfortunately somewhere, some unknown place in the middle of it feels exactly like it used to, or everything has changed. A lot of things have changed, which is why it's going to feel different, maybe a little awkward. But I think some of that awkwardness comes from the fact that some pieces of it are going to feel exactly the way they did before. And there's that weird, I think that dissonance between the two is kind of what makes a lot of that discomfort. The final chorus, or the final verse, I've been standing in the same room, people enter one by one, and I've stopped hoping they'll be you. I've been standing in the same room, you don't visit anymore, but you showed up before the move. I can't tell if it felt like we had nothing to lose, or if everything had changed like it tends to do. Excuse me, so stuffed up today. You're not anticipating this person showing up anymore, because you're in your own life now. You've got other stuff. Like, they don't have the same place in your life that you're kind of waiting for them to be there so that you can kind of experience. I think this is a party. You don't necessarily feel like you need to experience this party with them. So you're not really anticipating them showing up, or you're not waiting for them to show up so that you can both enjoy the party. But they also have this dynamic of maybe they showed up before she moved so that they can pick up a few things or maybe help out, because there is still, you know, that level of care. One thing I have noticed, just because of my own experience, this is very clearly a relationship that I'm assuming ended on okay terms. This doesn't feel like a song about a relationship that like ended really, really messily, or ended because one person was being particularly harmful to the other person. This seems like a relationship that just didn't work out at the time. And maybe one or both of them came to terms with that and went their separate ways, and now they've met again. And there's still no harsh feelings, but it just feels weird, right? Those are my thoughts. We're gonna keep moving. Track number 4, Movie Star. What does Lizzy have to say about being a movie star?
I'm special. He sees me. He chose me out of everyone.
I see.
I feel like a movie star in the leading role.
Oh,
Famous to someone.
got a little bit of main character syndrome, protagonist syndrome, as I think they call
Will
it.
your friends be there?
Oh,
Even if they are, I don't care.
oh.
Wish someone would stop me, but they never will. Over and over.
Ooh. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh,
I wanna
that's nice.
change. I wanna grow, but it's physically impossible.
What do you mean? I guess it might be physically impossible because she's around my age, and that's around the age where you get about as tall as you're gonna get. So maybe it is physically impossible for her to get any taller from here on out. I don't know how tall Lizzy McAlpine is, but I don't know if she's getting any taller. So, it's a shame.
Stand here and not say that I love
I see.
you,
That's
even if
physically.
I don't.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Who am I to you? Who am I to myself?
Whoa.
What are
Okay,
you
that's a line.
changing about me?
Jeez.
I feel like a movie star, but it's getting old. Being
Ooh.
famous for someone.
Right, that track is a minute and a half long. That's movie star. Jeez, she packed a whole lot into that. Cool. Let's just pack, some real existential stuff into a minute and a half long song. What does Lizzy have to say about this? Not much, actually. She co-wrote it with her friend Olivia Barton, who opened for her on her last tour. Cool. So we're back. We're back in love. We're back in a relationship. We're not worrying about seeing our ex. We're kind of getting into the emotional experience of being particularly valued by someone, of having this uniquely significant role in someone's life, which I guess she describes as feeling like a movie star in the leading role, famous to someone, right? In this dude's life, she is one of the leading roles, right? And she gets into kind of what that does to her, to kind of be aware of that. There's a little bit of like interesting ego stuff, like in the chorus, where it's like, can I come over? Will your friends be there? Even if they are, I don't care. Wish someone would stop me, but they never will. Over and over. Those wish someone would stop me, but they never will. Sort of that, again, that protagonist syndrome of like wanting to have those experiences of being put into conflict that you know how to handle, right? You want to be able to prove yourself. You want to be able to prove your love to this guy. You want to be able to prove that you can't be stopped, or you want to be given the opportunity to prove that. But they don't, because life is not always as exciting as we want it to be. Not always as dramatic as we want it to be. So you just kind of get to stand there and be in love, whether you like it or not. This outro is so fascinating, because it goes, who am I to you, and who am I to myself? What are you changing about me? I feel like a movie star, but it's getting old being famous for someone. As opposed to the first verse, which is she's famous to someone, right? So she's starting to realize like how much this relationship and being in this relationship has kind of changed how she perceives herself and the other person. And she's starting to wonder about whether that perception is a good thing or a bad thing, or even if anything has changed. Who am I to you? Like, what role do I actually play? And who am I to myself? Have I forgotten who I am supposed to be outside of this relationship? Do I really only know who I am within my proximity to this other person? What are you changing about me? This is basically, have either of the past two questions been affected by this other person? I feel like a movie star, but it's getting old being famous for someone. Like, instead of being famous to someone and having that admiration and getting to be that significant person in someone's life, you're now realizing that you as a person and your identity is becoming attached to another identity, the separate person, and you're starting to question as to whether that's good or not. Maybe you want to be famous for yourself, right? Just for who you are, or just being recognized just for yourself rather than, oh, this person's partner, right? I think that's kind of what we're getting at here. That's lovely. Again, chill vibe, great stuff, really strong songwriting. Let's keep going. Track number 5, All Falls Down. All right, is this where everything falls down? Maybe this is the inciting instant? I don't know. I don't know if she's going with any sort of like overarching narrative here. Feels like she might be, but not gonna hold her to it. But might be. Maybe this is the first crisis. Maybe this is the first fight. Let's find out what's falling down. Ooh. All right. We got some horns. We got a more steady beat. This is a little bit more mid-tempo. Ooh. We got some clarinets in there, I think. Okay.
Tell me how to be.
Okay.
More like.
This is another entry in the world of happy-sounding songs with very, very depressing lyrics. Great. Looking forward to it.
'Cause it all falls down on you at the same time.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, it all
That's so cool.
falls down on you at the same time.
I love what the wind instruments are doing here.
20
Ooh. Those flutes are
and a
jamming.
sold out show.
What a state of mind to be
I'm
in.
happy, but I'll probably cry after you go home.
Interesting,
Doing
okay.
fine, like I always am.
Are you?
Am I that good of a liar that I believe myself again?
Okay.
And it all falls down on you.
It's so interesting. Again, the kind of flavor of the song that she's putting together here, because the The beat is, again, very steady, very just sort of like moving forward. You're sitting there and you're bopping. And the wind instruments, you got some flutes, you got some clarinets in there. Maybe you've got like a saxophone or something lower there. It's all combining to create a feeling of, I think, is sarcasm. It's hard to like really specifically communicate sarcasm in music because it's like, you know, how do you concretely express irony? Which I guess is the way you do it is by having these happy sounds and these happy sort of like wind melodies in the instruments. But the actual lyrics are actually very cynical or very like self-critical. And it's that sort of, again, cognitive dissonance, you might call it, that creates this thing of like, oh, maybe she's being a little ironic. Maybe she's being a little sarcastic. And it all comes together very, very nicely. And it remains a bop. Like, you can appreciate it as this sort of sarcastic, ironic song through the meaning, but you're still sitting here and jamming. Like, it's still a good vibe. And then once you read the lyrics, you're like, oh, I'm working through some shit here.
22 was a panic attack.
Oh, was it?
I can't stop the time from moving, and I can never get it right.
Nice! Everyone comes in. I think that piano is like slightly out of tune. It seems a little bit like, it seems like it might be a little sharp, but it lends really well to the like kind of off-kilter nature of the song. It works really, really nicely. It's like just off enough that you're like, there's something weird going on there, but not so much that it's unpleasant to listen to. That whole band being in here. Ooh, going into halftime now.
At the same time,
we're back into the woodwinds. Lovely. Oh, what a jam. What an absolute depressing bop. We love it. She did a similar move in the last album with, I think, What a Shame, where she kind of has that like break into sort of like a bigger rock sound, almost punky, kind of like grungy sound. And I love it when like singer-songwriters and pop artists sort of dip into the crunchier rock side of things. It's nice to know that they're not afraid of accessing that kind of emotional energy when it fits, because sometimes it would fit, but the artist doesn't want to stray too far outside of their genre, and it ends up feeling like they're holding back. But in stuff like this, if you're not afraid to let loose, please, for the love of God, please let loose. We will appreciate it all the more. Discusses feelings of anxiety, specifically in experiences growing older and dealing with the pressures of fame and touring. Yeah, this sounded like sort of a stressed out musician kind of song. She said on Apple Music, I wrote this one when I was on tour, which is weird. I never write songs on the road because I hate touring, so I'm usually pretty miserable and uninspired. But I guess this was different because I was writing it about that feeling. Originally, it was slow and ballady because that's what the lyrics feel like, but it evolved into this fun, upbeat number. I love that juxtaposition. That's the word. I was going with dissonance and irony and sarcasm, but it's the juxtaposition that creates that sort of like ironic, sarcastic feel to it. And I'm so glad that she made that choice. That also feels very much akin to like how a musician would talk about touring if it's not something that they enjoy, where it's like it's an inherent part at a certain point of a musician's life, touring. Like if you're doing well, you're gonna end up touring at a certain point, probably. I don't know, maybe not the case for certain artists, but with a lot of bands and a lot of sort of pop artists, you're gonna end up touring if you're doing well. It makes sense that you would approach this piece of the musician life with this thing of like, I hate it, ahaha, where the ahaha, like the laugh of it comes from the music. The laugh of it and the sort of like ironic laugh of it comes from the fact that it's an upbeat song. You've got these like very whimsical sort of sounding, wind instruments, where you're like, yeah, it's great. I hate it, but what can you do? That's very much the feeling that I get from it, which is like so impressed that she was able to get that communicated. Verse 2 goes, 23 and a sold-out show. I am happy, but I'll probably cry after you go home. Doing fine, like I always am. Am I that good of a liar that I believe myself again? And then the chorus is, and it all falls down on you at the same time. What a fascinating sort of picture into kind of how Lizzy maybe functions while touring. 23, you play the sold out show, so by that metric, you're doing great. You're happy, but until that one specific person that you can kind of share this experience with goes down, then it all falls down on you at the same time, of just all this stimulation and all this stress of being on tour and doing shows constantly. It's tiring, and sometimes it's so fast-paced and so non-stop of like, play a show, get to next place, play a show, get to next place, that once you do have this moment of peace and solitude, you have to process everything. It all falls down on you, which is why you cry after your person goes home. Which also then goes into the doing fine like I always am. Am I that good of a liar that I believe myself again? Like, when you're in that nonstop state of like, play show, get to next place, set up, play show, you're not giving yourself the time to register that you're not feeling okay, which then becomes a really easy thing to say, I guess I'm doing fine, right? I haven't broken down yet, so I guess I'm doing fine. Which obviously she's been on enough tour experiences that she knows that that's not necessarily the case, but for now she can lie to herself that for now she's fine, right? And that's why she believes herself again, is because that's just part of functioning while on tour, is that you kind of put the whole mental toll that tour is putting on you, put that off till later, till you can get home and cry. Let's keep going. Track 6. Staying. We're staying somewhere. Someone's staying somewhere.
Whisper to me, baby.
Okay.
I'm too far gone to care.
Oh wow, it's just sad.
I said what I meant when it was right there.
Okay.
Now I'm laying in bed with you.
Ooh.
And you're falling asleep.
Nice chord
How
choices.
can you look so peaceful? And you know I'm gonna leave. What happens when you love me dry?
Damn. Okay.
I give myself to help you get by.
There are very few, well, maybe not very few, but it's so difficult to feel like you can just sort of hold your own as just a voice and a piano. And damn if Lizzy can't pull it off. She's got the vocal chops, and even the piano. Like, you can kind of trade off between listening to what she's doing with the piano and just what she's singing. It's engaging enough, that maybe at a certain point I might start being like, okay, maybe we can get some other elements in. But for now, while she's laying the groundwork of this song, she's making some really strong choices that are keeping me engaged with just the voice and just the piano.
Hold me until someone sends me a sign.
There's the rest of the band. Right.
Send it into space and watch the planets turn.
Ooh, that
Maybe
little
I will someday.
booby
Let
dooby
this
doo.
go forever. Hold me until I find the
Alright. Just gonna. You guys go. You guys can leave. I'm just gonna sit back and just kind of fade off from this realm. Just gonna transcend the plane, and listen to Lizzy for the rest of the day. Just gonna check myself out of reality with sounds like that. Jeez. Okay. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so damn pretty. Oh. Oh, another sudden cut. Very quick fade out in this case. Very interesting. Okay. Great. Another shorter one. This one's like 2.5 minutes. God damn, that was just so spacey, as I mentioned near the end there. Let's see here. McAlpine stated in an Instagram live stream that this is her favorite song from the album, saying it illustrates her struggle to leave a toxic relationship. I see. Gotcha. Another struggling to leave kind of song. I see. Interesting. Okay. With that in mind, there's only like three verses here, so might as well go through the whole thing. Verse 1, whisper to me, baby, I'm too far gone to care. I wish I could have said what I meant when it was right there. Now I'm laying in bed with you and you're falling asleep. How can you look so peaceful when you know I'm gonna leave? What a fascinating state of nature. Just this mutual knowledge that things are not going well and that you're kind of near the end of things, which not the first time I've listened to or reacted to a song like that before, but this puts it in such a like intimate space of like laying in bed knowing, and her being like, how can you look so peaceful when you know I'm gonna leave? And it's because, again, there's this thing of like knowing that there are things unsaid that everyone's feeling, but if you don't say them, then you can kind of fool yourself into thinking that things are fine, right? If you don't make the unsaid said, then you can kind of pretend that that those thoughts don't exist, right? And then the chorus, what happens when you love me dry? I give myself to help you get by. I keep on lying and sweating at night. hold me until someone sends me a sign. And there's that, again, a little bit of that sort of irony and dissonance of she knows that she's staying in this relationship is unhealthy for her. She's giving more of herself into something that she no longer cares enough about. And she is experiencing the like sort of anxiety and despair of it, and lying and sweating at night thinking that this needs to change. But that anxiety, instead of propelling her out of the relationship, just makes her want to be comforted. And the next most available person that she can get to comfort her is the person that is causing her these feelings, which is a very, very human situation. It's like that's so valid. Honestly. Verse 2, maybe I would be okay if I let this go forever. Send it into space and watch the planets turn. Maybe I will someday let this go forever. Hold me until I find the nerve. I wonder if the send it into space and watch the planets turn is sort of expressing the fact that there is this, like, the post-breakup world is an unknown. Like, you don't know if you would be okay post-breakup, because it's hard to imagine your life after this, like, having left this other person, right? Sometimes they become such an integral piece of your life, whether grand scale or day to day, that it's hard to imagine things looking good without them, right? And the line "hold me until I find the nerve" is, again, that weird irony of wanting to leave but not being able to leave, and the anxiety of that sort of internal conflict just makes her want to be comforted by the person. Really, really powerful picture there. Let's keep moving. Track number 7, I Guess, which I'm thinking might be like it might be an apathetic, I guess, is kind of my prediction. Might be an apathetic, I guess, but maybe she is guessing at something. Okay.
Straighten your tie. We're not alone.
Okay.
I'll tell a lie just to bring you home.
Oh, interesting.
I'll tell a lie, but it's understood.
Ooh, interesting little... Oh, is that a... I can't remember what it's called.
I guess it's all
There was that one weird hand-wavy instrument in there, I thought.
I guess it's all about the things you want but never get.
Oh.
I guess it's all about trying to love someone you've never met.
Interesting. Okay, so a couple things that I want to point out here is that both lyrically and melodically, she's doing a lot of repetition here, which she doesn't necessarily do a lot in a lot of her songs. Some of her like single like verses where she'll just string together a long melody that doesn't repeat until maybe the second like verse, right? It's got that long of an arc. But in this case, she's repeating the same melody like pretty much every line of the verse. So it's like the straighten your tie, and then the next line, I'll tell a lie. Or like maybe she changes a note or two there. And between that and this very sort of like casual imagery is making this sort of feeling of like comfort or like familiarity, or like it's like a pattern where she's done this before. She's kind of going through the motions. As well as in the chorus, she's repeating the phrase, I guess it's all about, where she's almost, it's almost like she's recounting things that people have told her, or like someone has been like, I guess it's all about timing, or someone else has been like, I guess it's all about the things you want but never get, or I guess it's all about trying. And that's matching with the melody to create this. It's not boredom or apathy, it's almost resignation, which is an interesting energy to write a song from. I've said in the past, I don't much care for songs that are written from a place of apathy, and I stand by that. I don't think that's what this is. I think this is maybe like, to be pretentious about it, like a little bit of like ennui, or like sort of longing for something more than what you're doing right now. And what you're doing right now is being communicated as this very like repeated pattern of like, straighten your tie, we dance, I tell lies, but it's understood. It is like, we both understand this is just how it goes, right? That's kind of the main thing, is like, this is just how it goes. I've done it enough. I know this is how it goes. And I'm interested to see how she sort of develops that later as we go on here.
I guess it's all about dying.
Whoa, is it?
To love someone.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Wish it was
Weird.
easy.
Reversed strings there.
I wish I knew what I was doing, but I never do.
Okay. Here we go. Oh. Aw. Oh, I like that melody. Nice. Oh. There's so many things going on. Oh. On the horns. We're just jamming here. Letting that little melody ring out on the piano. Ooh. I love the sound of those keys. Ooh, some weird noises here. Okay, another hard cut. Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm really enjoying this. Okay, great. Lovely. This is a very, I don't want to say sad song. It's a little bit of, it's a little like, I guess, yeah, resigned. Like I said earlier. About section says, the song describes the experience of taking someone home after a night out. Which is kind of what I was picking up on, is just kind of that pattern of going out on a date, and just this experience of like this occasion that there's a lot of pressure put onto the experience of a date, no matter who you're with, no matter like what your previous relationship with this person has been. As soon as it's a date context, suddenly there's all this pressure and expectation, and it can be really uncomfortable and awkward to like kind of navigate around that. And there's a lot of like social, a lot of sort of social things that you just kind of do, whether you think they're good or not, or healthy or not. And she gets into a lot of that. Right from the first verse, we got straighten your tie, we're not alone. I'll tell a lie just to bring you home. We dance together, you're not that good. I'll tell a lie, but it's understood. So she's really, really nicely piecing together this sort of situation of you're cleaning yourself up so that, you know, you feel okay to present yourself in public. Then immediately I'll tell a lie just to bring you home, right? Maybe you can say like, hey, I just bought this bottle of wine. I don't want to have it all by myself. Maybe you bought that bottle of wine knowing you were gonna go on a date, and now you're just like, I got this bottle of wine. I don't know what to do with it. You know exactly what you want to do with it. And then we dance together. You're not that good, which is kind of cute. As someone that is not very good at dancing, I think you can still have a nice moment, you know, dancing with someone that's not very good at it. If you just accept, you know, that you're dancing with someone that's not that good, and you can kind of accept that as a charming piece of who they are, you know, just appreciate that awkwardness. And then the last line here, I'll tell a lie but it's understood, is such a fascinating microcosm of that sort of atmosphere of a date. Telling lies to maybe put your best foot forward, and the other person perceives that that's probably a lie, but you get why they're saying it. You understand why they might be telling that lie, because they're trying to put on a good, attractive face. Maybe it's unnecessary, but you know, understand where they're coming from. Chorus is, I guess it's all about timing. I guess it's all about the things you want but never get. I guess it's all about trying to love someone you've never met. There's all these elements. It's all about timing, like what you do and when you do it. It's all about the things you want but never get. It's all about the expectations to have going in. It's all about trying. It's all about just getting yourself out there. It's just about trying, you know? Meet the person, go from there, see how it goes. To love someone you've never met. And that's kind of where the pressure and the expectations come in, is you don't really know. A lot of the time you maybe don't know what you're supposed to get out of a date. Are you supposed to fall in love with this person on the first date? I'm going to tell you right now, no, you don't have to. Love at first date is generally a myth. A lot of people take a little bit longer to truly fall in love with a person. If you are the kind of person that can fall in love or has fallen in love from the first date, good for you. Hope it worked out. The rest of us aren't so quick on the draw, aren't so quick on our instincts like that. So give us a moment, please and thank you. Verse 2 is an interesting situation. We eat our dinner, then we undress, which is a very like ceremonious sort of thing of like, we do this, and then I guess we undress. Like, I guess this is just the next thing to do. You're sort of crossing off a list to ensure that by all imperial measurements, it was a successful date. And now that you've undressed, she says, now we're equal, more or less, right? Now you're both naked. Whatever insecurities are tied to either of you being naked, you're both dealing with those as much as the other person. Now I am sick and you're probably drunk. You're saying things and they sound like love. So maybe this is not the first date. Maybe this other person is quite drunk, and maybe they're saying things that are a little bit, maybe have a little bit more weight to them, perceived in them, than they might intend. And you're sick, so maybe you're not in a state of mind to be processing all that, but here you are. And then the last line of the second chorus is, I guess it's all about dying to love someone, which I think is sort of a expression of, to a certain extent, you kind of have to, there's that trade-off of like, you know, you got your stuff that you kind of want from the other person, and there's a certain level of compromise that you need you might need to put in. Like maybe you've got a specific kind of person that you're looking for, and if the other person doesn't exactly match that, then you kind of have to give up, or you have the choice to kind of put that piece of you, which is what you're looking for in a person and what you value in a person. Maybe you have the choice to set that aside so that you can enjoy the person in front of you. You don't have to, but it's an option. You can do that, and I don't think I would want to judge you any more or less for doing so. I think both options are fair and valid. That's all I've got for this one. Let's keep going. We're into the back half of the album. We're in track 8 of 14. Onto Drunk Running. Drunk, running. We're drunk, we're running. I don't know why we're drunk. I don't know why we're running. I don't know where we're running to. Let's find out and see if any of those questions will be answered. All right. Sad piano again. All right.
What did you mean when you said that you were sober now?
Okay.
Caught you in bed with a Red Bull vodka 2 weeks out.
Oh.
No one stops you.
Okay.
Nobody takes it from your hand.
Oh, wow.
Even when you break your leg drunk running.
Oh, interesting.
Someone ought to hold you to your words. Say I love you and then drink it backwards.
Oh, what does that mean? I'm gonna look into that line when we get to the end, but this is no longer happy sad or like resigned sad. This feels angry sad. Like this feels frustrated sad. Or like maybe we'll get a little bit more high energy and we'll let some of that anger out later on. Who knows? But for now, it seems like we're past anger and now just sad or disappointed, maybe. And it really comes out in the like slow plotting thing of like, please just listen to me and like get yourself out of this, right? And there's a level of not necessarily patience, but emphasis, very slow, deliberate emphasis that I'm getting out of this. The strings and the slide guitar are the stars of this album. Oh, here comes the band. There we go. Oh, interesting. Oh, damn. Right. Nice. That is, in fact, I love you backwards. That's cool. Oh boy. Oh. All right, we're taking it for a ride here. I really appreciate the amount of like space that Lizzy is like putting into her songs. Like she's really letting kind of the world of the song breathe a little bit. Like she's letting you sit in it after she's already sort of gotten through most of the lyrics, or even in between verses she'll leave these sort of extended musical interludes to just kind of let you sit and stew in whatever emotional energy she's got for the song. It's a sign of a songwriter that is confident in their ability and confident in their song, that they can just like let the instrumentation kind of speak for itself. Respect and admire her for letting herself do that. Oh, we're laughing. Okay. Ooh. Oh, we got some noise. We got a little bit of noise going on here. Interesting. A little bit of bit crushed stuff. And then we hear the thump of a piano. Cool. Like we're coming back to what would have been a live take. I like that. The About section wrote a whole freaking thing about this. The song navigates the emotional turmoil of a relationship plagued by addiction. That seemed pretty clear. Underscored by themes of love, regret, and the harsh realities of enabling behavior. Yeah. It tells the story of someone grappling with the consequences of their partner's substance abuse, recognizing their own role in perpetuating the cycle, and yearning for a chance to rewind and rectify their mistakes. Yeah, that comes through pretty clearly there. First verse and then the chorus. First verse is, what did you mean when you said that you were sober now? Caught you in bed with a Red Bull vodka 2 weeks out. And then the chorus, nobody stops you. Nobody takes it from your hand, even when you break your leg drunk running. Someone ought to hold you to your words. Say I love you, and then drink it backwards. Which I'm curious as to what drink it backwards has been. Saying I love you and then drinking it backwards metaphorically represents the idea of reversing or undoing insincere declarations of love or commitments made under the influence of alcohol or addiction. Interesting. So you're like infusing the I love you into the drink itself and then asking for both to be reversed. That's damn. And then the bridge, what if it was all my fault? What if I drove you to it? I was only honest sometimes, and I think you knew it. Make a person out of memories, they won't live up to it. I'm so sorry I stay when I shouldn't. There's a lot. She's putting some raw feelings into this. That's rough. Like, I'm sorry I stay when I shouldn't? Good Lord. That's hefty. I was only honest sometimes, and I think you knew it is also a hard line. It is this tricky situation of knowing that your partner has maybe taken up some unhealthy habits, maybe some like substance abuse, and wanting to help, but also knowing that like helping them with that is not like they're like, that's the kind of thing that people go to like a trained professional for to get over. Like that's what you go to therapy for and go to like AA meetings for. Not just all of that shouldn't have to be placed on the responsibility of your romantic partner, right? Most cases you're just not qualified to handle that properly, which is what makes like, you know, dealing with an addiction and also being in a relationship so difficult for both parties, because you know you feel maybe the person that's got the addiction also feels ashamed for whatever they put the other person through, and that also motivates them to drink more to like kind of get over it. There's a streamer slash there's a therapist streamer that I watch named Dr. Mick. Highly recommend if you enjoy Let's Play channels, or just if you enjoy listening to therapists talk. And he plays video games in order to discuss psychological concepts and approaches video games from a therapist's point of view. And whenever he talks about substance abuse, he says that there are usually two reasons for someone to rely on a substance, particularly alcohol, which is either to make them feel their feelings or to not feel feelings. You're either drinking so that you can unlock your, like, you can break down whatever cognitive walls that you might have while sober so that you can actually get things out, or you drink so that you can numb yourself and so that you don't have to deal with everything that you might be feeling. And it feels like there's a little bit of both going on here. Because that's where the hold you to your words, say I love you, and then drink it backwards. The I love you is being perceived as insincere and sort of fueled by drunkenness, and it ends up just being more hurtful than anything because it's not coming from a genuine place. It's coming from a place of being under the influence of alcohol, right? But it's also, being driven to alcohol could be either one, where maybe you're just being put through so much that you just need to like drink yourself until you're numb and you don't want to think about it for now. Could be either one. This is a very sad song. That's what I've got to say about it. I am interested to see what Lizzy has to say about this. And she said for Apple Music, I wrote this song after I was out of the relationship that this album is about, apparently, and pretty far removed from it. I went out with my friends one night and my ex was there. We were at a bar and he was ignoring me and just looked really miserable. I was like, damn, this is hard to watch. The song is about that experience and our time together before that. I ordered the tracks in a very specific way to carry you from the beginning of the relationship into the second half where things start to devolve and get really toxic. So there is sort of a narrative that she's following here. Drunk Running is the beginning of that toxic chapter, which makes sense with this being the start of the back half, that it's the beginning of the end in a way. This bridge is kind of like, oh God, what if I did this to you? What if I made you this way? I'm so sorry for staying when I should have left. It's me realizing my part that I played. Which, it's nice that she recognized that, but I would also say that, like, she can only give herself so much shit for that. Like, she's not choosing for him to drink. He's making that choice. Whether there's, like, brain chemicals involved that make him more predisposed to make that choice. There is that thing to be empathetic for, or empathetic to. But she is not forcing him to drink. I'm just speaking from my own vague experience, and I'm not going to get into the details of too much. Sometimes when you're in a relationship like that, it becomes really, really easy as the person dealing with the person that might be drinking a bit much. It's really easy to be like, oh, if I had just acted a different way, or if I was just a little bit more accommodating, or if I just like didn't stand up for myself, or if I didn't do this or that, then maybe they wouldn't be spending the evening drinking. And maybe there's a little bit of self-reflection to be done in that regard, but in the end, the onus just isn't on you. It's not your addiction, right? That's all I'm going to say about that. But I'm really glad that Lizzy wrote this song, because she is a very I feel like this is a situation that a lot of people find themselves in and get themselves caught up in. I'm curious to see how the rest of this album goes now that we're heading into apparently some toxicity that will start accelerating as we move forward. So we're going to keep moving into track 9, Broken Glass. Can't imagine this one's going to be a happy song. It might have some happy or bright instrumentation as we've heard in other sadder songs, but I don't think we're getting to a genuinely bright point for a little bit here. Let's find out though. Broken Glass.
Broken glass on the table.
Right.
Pick it up, hold it to your throat.
Jesus Christ. That's okay.
I can see who
all
you
right.
are now that the windows broke.
Oh damn.
Drop of blood on the carpet. Didn't think it would go this far.
Damn. Ooh.
I know you've been
Interesting.
hurt, but you did it first.
Oh boy.
to me.
Oh yeah, we're getting into it now. We're getting into it now. Ooh.
We started with the end. Broken glass again.
Jeez. Ooh,
Maybe
that was a little.
it doesn't matter.
I think those little weird piano notes might have been a couple of the mistakes that made it onto the master that actually absolutely work, because things are messy in this song, and so it makes sense that certain elements of the production would be messy as well. It works, it fits, it's not a mistake.
Who the blame gets assigned to next.
Oh, I love
Nothing's ever the way that I remember it.
I love the like muted drums that she uses in so many of her songs. It's like it kind of creates this almost sort of foggy, like out of focus filter to the sort of experience of the song, where like you can hear what might be a snare, you can hear what might be like a floor tom, but everything's so muted and kind of like unfocused that you kind of get that effect on the whole song. Considering the content is all in itself kind of messy and nebulous and trying to figure out what's what, it works really, really well. And I like when she uses it, because she uses it a lot and it usually fits pretty well. I love that little ride up.
Did I do it worse to
Jeez.
you? Broken glass again.
Oh, that's crunchy. But she's staying. That's cool. She's staying like relatively subdued with the vocals. Like she's not like really belting it out. She's keeping it at the same level that she's been in for the rest of this very otherwise quiet, subdued song. And it creates this thing of like maybe all of this explosiveness is kind of what she's holding back. Is kind of what I'm picking up on, is there's all of these things that she wants to be able to say, but she's just trying to like keep herself together and not blow up in the way that the music is. It's really, really powerful and effective. Ooh. Oh, it's so crunchy. Right. Ooh. Okay. cow, what a bridge. Okay, and we're back
Started
here.
with the end.
Oh,
Broken glass
some things are getting
again.
reversed. Oh, are we building?
We're coming to the end.
Still a little bit of song left.
Breaking glass.
Okay, feels interesting. Cool. I like this. This is also very like 70s rock. Oh, that's so cool. Ooh. Oh my gosh. As far as I'm concerned, that was one of the stronger songs on the album. Very dark. That's a very dark song. Jeez. And like a lot of things, by the time we get to that bridge, a lot of things have been said. Oh boy. There's a lot to unpack here. We'll start with verse 1. Broken glass on the table, pick it up, hold it to your throat. I can see who you are now that the window's broke. Drop of blood on the carpet, didn't think it would go this far. Don't know why I held on this long, but here we are. And we've heard that sentiment a few times now in this album of like, don't know why I stayed in this relationship this long, but I still am. And if you think at this point it's a little too long for her to be holding on, chances are you haven't been in a relationship like this, because even once you start to see sort of the uglier side of this person, that doesn't immediately mean, oh, I see this now, I have immediately decided that we can't stop. Either you get an attitude of like, oh, I can fix them, or you can be like, maybe we're just going through a rough patch, right? Maybe we're just going through a particularly hard run. Sometimes when you get certain length into a relationship, things get a little bit harder because you're together and you know each other really, really well, to the point where you know some of the less healthy character traits of theirs. And you say all of these things in order to motivate yourself to keep going. It's basically emotional like inertia of like an object in motion tends to stay in motion, and the same goes for relationships. It takes like a significant amount of external input to really get someone to stop and decide that they need to end things. Even if you get onto rougher terrain, it might slow things down, but you're still gonna try and move forward, if that makes sense. And we are now at the stage, it seems, where the other person is seeing a little bit less favorably, or being seen a little bit less favorably. I feel like that's where the line, I can see who you are now that the window's broke. Almost as though the window is this sort of like rose-petaled, these sort of the same thing as like rose-petaled glasses, where now that you're over the novelty of being in love with this person and you're trying to build a life together, maybe all of these preconceived notions and sort of ideals about this person have kind of faded off, and you're left with sort of the glamourless, novelty-less version of this person, and you have to decide if they are someone that you actually want to be with. And it seems like we're now hitting the point where maybe not, because it also seems like there's very clearly a history of conflict going on here. Verse 2, maybe it doesn't matter who the blame gets assigned to next. Nothing's ever the way that I remember it. Things are getting really like even cognitively messy. Like memories are getting affected in retrospect. Nothing's ever the way that I remember it. Nothing's like the blame for things is getting thrown around to the point where, like, who knows what actually happened. The two pre-choruses, the first one is, I know you've been hurt, but you did it first to me. So we get this sort of back and forth of, like, you hurt me first, therefore you're at fault. The second pre-chorus is, you know I've been hurt, did I do it worse to you? So you get, in both cases, you get this competitive nature, antagonizing energy of, like, even if I did hurt you, was it worse than what you've done to me? And we're kind of starting to measure things. We're trying to measure qualitative things quantitatively, to put it that way. And then the bridge, oh boy, I want you now and then I don't, and every word is a landmine. I hold the glass against your throat, but I can't do it this time. It might seem like I love you, but I just don't want to be alone, which is a sentiment that has kind of echoed, and I've mentioned through this album already. There's a difference between being in love with someone and wanting to be in a relationship. You can want to be in a relationship without being in love with the person that you're in a relationship with. It's not a great state of mind. Not a great place in life to be in. I don't personally recommend it. But it is a case that a lot of people find themselves in for the various reasons that we've been through in this album. And we're also clearly at this point where, like, there's already been so much conflict. There's already been so many incidents of, like, fights and things, that both members of the relationship have so many triggers and so much unresolved, like, resentment against each other that literally bringing up anything is going to set one or the other person off. Quite tragic. We started with the end, broken glass again. We're coming to the end, breaking glass. Yeah, it's not even the beginning of the end, it's just we are ending. Things are ending currently. And with that, we're going to keep moving to track 10, You Forced Me To. A very strong, foreboding song title. Here we go. Oh boy. Oh, we're into it. Uh-huh. 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 Okay. Oh boy. This is... okay. Great. Okay. Uh-huh.
Tell me why you think you love me. I am guilty. You're a fool.
Can, like, I really hope that this, like, maybe this album ends in a similar way as Unreal on Earth, where, you know, you've been into the depths of hell, but maybe we come back out and things are looking bright at the end, and it's all a cycle, and, you know, you just got to take life as it comes and things will get brighter. Maybe that'll happen at the end. I really hope so, because boy, we're we're in it now.
I want you to hate me.
What the fuck, Lizzy?
Deserve it for my crime.
Jeez.
I am not the same as when you met me.
Right, fair
I
enough.
have changed because you forced me to.
Okay, I got thoughts about that, but for now, okay. Ooh. Interesting. I just heard a slightly off note there, and I think we're playing the slightly off tune piano as well. I am very I'm uncomfy. I'm uncomfortable. And especially we got this, like, sort of waltz thing going here where it feels like everything's very proper, and, like, I feel like Lizzy might be singing this with good posture, but the fact that it's just everything is so resentful and there's so much negative energy that's just being like interpolated here, and there's so much like negative history that she's like speaking from, that's just really, it's difficult to just sort of sit and let it all happen to me, you know? I mean, nothing's happening to me. I'm listening to music because I'm choosing to listen to it. But geez, it's a lot of information to take in that has such a specific energy that, like, again, it's that thing that I've talked about already where like there's so much anger that is not being expressed in the energy of the music, but it's being all put into the lyrics. And then the music is just very steady and subdued and almost polite, is kind of what you get out of that, like kind of waltzy rhythm. And it's just, oh, it gives me the bad feels. It's just like the music sounds toxic. And I don't know how she achieved that. Maybe by having the piano slightly off tune, but jeez.
You to hate me.
And also just having those like straight quarter notes be the melody is just very like uncanny, I guess. It's so matter of fact. Especially with a line like "I want you to hate me," just having those words sort of beat in is a fascinating musical experience to be taking in here. Ooh. Okay, interesting. That's cool. That was cool. Okay.
Every time I am not the same as when you met me. I have changed because you forced me to.
Interesting. All right. We got 30 seconds left and we're done with the lyrics. So we got a nice little piano solo, I guess. Sounds like something out of Haunting of Hill House. Very unsettling. Unsettling, that's the word. I got the word right at the end. It's this shit is unsettling as all get out. Whoo boy. Okay, great. Jeez. So there's a lot going on here. I feel like we're starting to get a little bit more retrospective here. We're steadily getting more and more like as this relationship has more and more history and more things to reflect on. We're getting more we're starting to look back more rather than look at the present. So verse 1, you're on top of me and I'm under you, and it never stops. I am guilty, aren't you? No one gets to win, so we will both lose. Tell me why you think you love me. I am guilty. You're a fool. So it's this, like, we're starting with this, like, accounting for the fact that there's no, like, no one's doing the right thing here. Like, Lizzie's done her own things in order to stay in this relationship. She's like compromised a lot of things that are also in themselves. Like, compromising that is also not going to be good for the relationship in itself, and just becomes this kind of cycle of losing yourself to give more of this relationship that is causing you to lose more of yourself, right? That kind of circle. The chorus, oh boy, starts with, I want you to hate me. I deserve it for my crimes. I know that I loved you, but you loved me harder every time. I am not the same as when you met me. I have changed because you forced me to. Which, I have a thought about that. Change is something that you do. that you choose. Maybe you don't choose to do it in the like traditional sense of choosing to do a thing. But change is not something that you can be entirely forced to do. It is something that within certain like circumstances you change to better adapt to those things, but that is still your own choice. It's splitting hairs a little bit, but I think it's an interesting sort of distinction to make here. But I definitely get what she's saying, in that she has had to become a different person in order to be the kind of person that could stay in and survive this relationship. It doesn't seem like she's changed into someone that she's happy to be. She does not. Seems like she's quite unhappy about how she has had to change. But that kind of seems like what she's trying to express here, and it's, oh boy, this song gave me the uncomfy tinglies. I like it. It's all put together very, very nicely and effectively communicates what I think it's trying to communicate. Unfortunately, the things that it's trying to communicate are hard to listen to. So we're gonna keep moving on deeper into the depths, I think. We are now on track 11, which is in fact the title track. Older. We're getting older. Let's see what that means for this relationship, or even if it has anything to do with the relationship. Might not. More piano in a room. Very much feels like a piano in a room.
Over and over, the carousel ride. Pay for your ticket, watch the red moon climb. Sick to my stomach, can't find the ground.
I like this kind of like, it's got a very like sort of like swung like slow dance feel to it. Like all of the, like she's sort of delaying some of the notes in those chords where it's like a do 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 instead of playing the whole chord all at once. Lends a nice kind of like stretchy timing to it, which is easy to do if it's just you and a piano. You can kind of it's a little easier to play around and have the song breathe that way. If it's just you and the piano, no one's gonna get mad at you for making the tempo a little bit stretchier if it's just a piano. I can't tell if there's like a little bit of like brushed percussion going on here.
Over
Yeah.
and over, watch it all
Or maybe it's just the
pass.
pedals. It might be the pedals or just the sound of the
Mom's
keys.
getting older, I'm wanting it back. Where no
Or it's just room
one is
sound. I think it's
dying,
just room sound.
and no one is hurt. And I have been good to you instead of making it worse. Thought it'd be over by now. Thought you would leave.
Oh.
Thought I would come to my senses.
She's being a little bit more open in her range. Like she's starting to be a little bit clearer and maybe louder, I guess. And it's interesting that she's chosen to kind of open up that way on this very, very quiet piano ballad. Like a lot of the things that, maybe some of the things that she's left unsaid up until now are kind of coming out in this more solitary context, where like now that it's just her in a room with a piano, she's able to process a lot of this stuff, and also some extra stuff that we haven't even been talking about in this album already. But it's all like coming out now that we have a quiet moment with the piano in the context of this album, this is a really strong kind of moment to have, particularly this late on. It's a nice little moment to breathe, but also like you've got all this history that's been laid out up until now that like provides a lot of emotional weight to this sort of quiet moment of coming to terms with things, that gives this song just a little bit even more emotional weight. Even if we're not talking about everything, it's still a bit of a zoom out moment while still being very, very like infinite or intimate sound wise. Aww. And now we just hear the melody on the piano.
I wish I knew what the end is.
Yeah. Hmm. Damn. That last line, I think, is kind of getting at something that I talked about earlier in the video of like not really knowing what the end of the relationship or like post relationship looks like. It's like while you're in this relationship that seems to take up a lot of emotional energy and a lot of emotional space, it becomes really difficult to imagine your life without that. And so it gets to the point where you start to wonder, like, what does it even, like, what does that end look like? Does that look like anything? And now she's kind of coming to terms with the fact that, like, she's gotten so deep into all of this. It's a weird thing of, like, zooming out to the point where you realize that you don't know how to zoom out, but the attempt is still being made here. And there's a little bit of zooming out in the sense of like she's also talking about getting older and growing up and this sort of loss of the good times, which is really nicely put in verse 2. Over and over, watch it all pass. Mom's getting older, I'm wanting it back. Where no one is dying and no one is hurt, and I have been good to you instead of making it worse. Of wanting to like not be in this time in your life where so much of your emotional state is defined by all of these mistakes that you've made and all of these harmful things that you've said and done to your partner, and you kind of want to get to a stage in your life that isn't defined by that, but you don't know what that looks like. And it's sort of paired between that and just this overall sense of like life was so much simpler when I was younger, which is a sentiment that many people have written songs about. It's becoming particularly popular in a lot of like sort of the mid to younger generations now, where like, you know, a lot of people my age kind of miss our childhoods because things looked very different. Like technology was like changed so much from when I was like 8 to now. Things look so different, so it's really easy to kind of romanticize that earlier part and want to get back to what seems like a simpler time where you could just, you know, run outside and play some street hockey and not worry about that thing that you yelled at your partner over the phone. And it's interesting that she kind of brings it all to somewhere I lost all my senses. I wish I knew what the end is. So this late into the album, she's just kind of numb and not really knowing what the end looks like. Hopefully we're able to get out of this because that's an unfortunate place to be. Let's keep going because I don't want to be too stuck in this particular state of mind. let's move on to track 12, Better Than This, which in itself is a promising song title. We're looking for something better than this. We're getting capital R romantic with it. Which I'm looking forward to.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. We're a little bit faster tempo. Not much faster, but a little bit. We got some major chords, which doesn't necessarily mean anything as to whether it's a sad song or not, but, you know, it helps.
There's someone at my door. I can
Okay.
hear him knocking.
Okay.
If I let him inside, it will all be true.
Oh, will it?
I didn't know that I was capable of all of this. Look what I've turned into. Someone will love me better than this.
Aww.
Better than this.
It's nice to hear her say that. We've come this far. We're at track 12 out of 14, and she's finally arrived at, hey, maybe things can be better than this. Maybe I actually could be in a better situation than this, whether in the context of a relationship or not. It's nice that we're here. I was hoping for, I don't know, like, how far the situation gets redeemed here. I don't know how bright things get by the end of this album, but this is a refreshing improvement. At least this is a strong start.
It's probably wrong that I never was honest. Honest to God, I was scared.
That's fair. That's so valid.
That someone will love me better than that.
And I'm not saying that's valid as like an ironic, like that's valid kind of way. I'm genuinely like being like all the things that she's saying, it's nice to just hear them said/saying out loud, because I'll get into it when I get into the lyrics a little bit, but like it seems like she's allowing herself a little bit of time to actually empathize with herself and to not necessarily justify what she said, but to allow herself to understand where she was coming from, which can be really, really difficult, particularly like if you're doing it for yourself. Sometimes it's a lot easier to understand why other people say and do the things that they say and do, and it's easier to empathize with them than it is to empathize with yourself, because, you know, we have a better idea of kind of what's going through our mind, and it's really hard sometimes to kind of reconcile ourselves with kind of thought processes that we've taken and the reasons that we've done things or said things. So the idea that it sounds like she's starting to forgive herself for these things is nice to see, nice to hear.
Someone will love you better.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's a cool piano part. I like that. Aw, that's lovely. Wow. Okay, things are getting better. Things are looking up a little bit. You know, I feel like we're starting at the sort of emotional dip. We're still in the valley, but we're making our way up the other side of the slope. You know, we're making our way back out of the hole. So let's take a look at There's a lot that she seems to be processing here as well. Gonna look at the chorus particularly. I think chorus and the refrain are kind of the main things to look at here. What if I'm not a good person? You always say that I am, but you don't really know me at all now. I think that I'm not who you think I am. But I like to be seen and I like to be wanted. Want it to mean something though. And we never quite knew how to be honest. Honest to God, I should go. And then the refrain is, someone will love me better than this, and someone will love you better than this. I wanted to talk about the what if I'm not a good person? You always say that I am, but you don't really know me at all now. There's this weird polarizing thing that she's doing here, as well as I think that I'm not who you think I am. I think she's kind of splitting herself into two different sort of people here. She's splitting in herself into who she perceives herself as, and she is polarizing that against who the other person thinks she is. She's sort of creating this false dichotomy of I'm either the person that I think I am, or I'm the person that you think I am. And I'm definitely not the person. I definitely don't think that I'm the person you think I am. So I must entirely be whatever I think I am. And unfortunately, we don't necessarily even see ourselves 100% accurately. We only see ourselves from, the internal view, but we don't. Sometimes the external view is just as valuable. Sometimes some of the things and things that we do and say have more impact to the person outside of ourselves than we think, and that can both be good and bad. We often tend to focus on a lot of our failures more than we focus on the ways that we're doing things okay, right? And that creates a version of ourselves in our own mind that maybe can bring down your sort of self-perception, have a less positive view of that. So I don't think it's an either or thing. I think she is a little bit of who she thinks she is. I'm sure some of that is based on reality and things that she has in fact said and done, and things that are maybe not okay or are okay. But that doesn't entirely discount the person that she has been externally perceived as well. Though there's somewhere in the middle. It's also not a singular, one-dimensional spectrum. There are other elements at play here. But I don't think it's I'm not a good person because I'm not who you think I am. You can be a good person that has done imperfect things. I think the idea of being a good or bad person is in itself pretty reductive. You can be a good person that has done bad things. You can also be a person that has caused a lot of harm, but has also done some good things, right? Just because you've caused a lot of harm doesn't mean that you're not capable of empathy and compassion and things like that. Sympathy. Yeah, I get what she's saying here, but it's a nice sort of teachable moment to be like, we're never just one or the other. It's never gonna be we are not one or the other, and the other people in our lives are not just one thing or the other. Usually they're both, at least, among other things. Final chorus is what if I'm not a good person? You always say that I am, but you don't really know me at all now. I have you right in the palm of my hand, because I like to be seen and I like to be wanted. Always could count on you there. It's probably wrong that I never was honest. Honest to God, I was scared. And that's the moment where she's allowing herself a little bit of external view of herself. She's able to zoom out and look at the things that she's said and done and understand from an observer's point of view, I was just scared, and allow herself that understanding. While at the same time, in the same chorus, she's kind of villainizing herself, of saying things like, I have you right in the palm of my hand. She's sort of like creating this like manipulative picture of herself, trying to reconcile herself with both I was scared, but also you say that I'm a good person, and all of this mess she's kind of trying to put together into an accurate picture of who she is and who she's been to this other person. Really, really strong pen work here. Really like that. I spent a lot of time on that one. Okay, we're into track 13, March. Is this the month, or is this the action of walking? Ooh. Ooh, that's a nice piano
Threw a
part.
rock into the water.
Okay.
Watched it sink down to the bottom.
Mhm.
Trying to find the lesson in it all, but I haven't learned anything. Never looked much like my father.
Okay.
1 year older, but somehow I feel younger.
Interesting.
I see it more now that he's gone.
Oh no.
Or maybe I just see him in everything.
Oh no. Oh, this isn't about the rest of the album at all. This is... Oh boy. Okay. Great. I'm gonna listen to this song knowing, having an idea of what it's about, and I'm gonna let that hit me, and then once that's all done, and you can just sit and watch me deal with that, then I'm gonna, if it's not clear to you already, I'll just lay it out so that you're not hit as hard as I am probably gonna get hit here, because oh boy, this is gonna be a hefty song. Okay, this one's got some weight to it.
So far away, and then it hits you. Called you when I heard the news.
We're coming in big.
Spent the night lying there.
We got the muted drums again.
What a way to start it off. So heavy from the start. So far away, and then it hits you. So far away, and then it hits you like it was yesterday.
Okay. Oh. Cutting out there. Okay. I think if that song were like maybe another minute longer, I probably would have started tearing up. But luckily this was, I would say, short and sweet, but I don't know if sweet is the right word for it. So this is another, this is a song about her dad, who has passed. This is not the only song that she has written for her dad. She also wrote Chemtrails on 5 Seconds Flat about her dad, as well as Headstones and Landmines on her first album, which was Give Me a Minute. Talking about it actually might hit a little bit harder than the song itself did. Let's see what Lizzy McAlpine says about March, who I'm assuming was the month in which her dad died. She says, this song is about my dad, who passed away in 2020. Every 13th track on all my albums is about him. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. He passed away on the 13th of March. Oh, that's okay. That's really sweet. And my first album came out on the 13th, and there were 13 tracks, and the 13th track was about him. I didn't really plan that, but it created a tradition. I don't really write about my dad with anyone because it's just really heavy and personal. Fair. But I wrote this song with songwriter / composer Ethan Gruska, who made me feel safe and open. Recording it was amazing. It feels so warm when the band comes in. It's a hug for your ears. Yeah, I definitely got that, especially with the once the rest of the band comes in, and you just get those like slow built like cymbals and then the muted drums with the mallets. It's very like warm and intimate. Yeah, a very much like a soft hug. Comparing this to Chemtrails, there are some parallels, which obviously there would be, in that, like, so in verse 2, never looked much like my father, 1 year older, but somehow I feel younger. I see him more now that he's gone, or maybe I just see him in everything. And that seeing him in everything was sort of also the subject of Chemtrails, of like this otherwise innocuous thing that you just sort of see in the sky every now and then reminds her of her dad. And just this thing of like just random things in the world remind you of this person that is gone and might sort of bring up all that grief again, which is then brought up in the chorus, which is, how could it take so long? Thought I had it handled, but it slipped through. I didn't know it'd be this hard, so far away, and then it hits you of like, it's now been a little over 4 years since he died, and this is very normal, but like, it's this thing of like, maybe she feels like she's, you know, sort of gone through a good portion of whatever her grief process looks like, but that doesn't mean that those feelings aren't there, and that the grief isn't still there, and it can be brought out by anything, and you don't necessarily know when it's going to come out, and it slips through. Sometimes you think you've got it handled, and you've got sort of a healthy relationship with your grief, and you are able to move on with your life in some way, and you get so far, and then it just hits you again, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you haven't grieved properly up until that point. It's unfortunately just a normal part of having lost someone that was close to you. I think that's all I'm gonna say about that. But it's cool to know about the 13th track on all of her albums being about her dad, and the fact that this one is called March is a cool sort of reference to that. Let's keep moving from that. Get me back into the. All right, we're back into it. We're back in. Okay, we got one song left. It's the longest one on the album, just under 6 minutes. It's called Vortex. I'm ready for a ride. I'm ready to be sucked into a vortex of whatever variety Lizzy's got planned for us. We're starting with sad piano in a room, as has been the case in most of the songs on this album. I'm ready.
I know it's not my
Okay.
fault,
Okay.
but I can't say that I'm blameless.
Right.
Carry the pain till it stops.
Mm-hmm.
Undress it until it's nameless.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Keeping up with the piano here. It's always a question of, will there be more than
Someday the
piano
world will
or not?
stop,
Mm-hmm. True.
and it will feel just like this did.
We're back. I think we're back to talking about the relationship.
Sometimes it feels like I did this.
I mean, you did some of it, probably.
Oh, someday I'll be kinder to myself.
Good. Okay. It could be now. You could be kinder to yourself now.
I never know where my feet are. We're spinning out of a vortex.
Are we? Oh, hello, piano. Was that the Vortex? Was that little piano plinkety plink the Vortex? Okay.
And you're screaming at me, and I'm watching it fall, and I'm slamming the door, and you make yourself tall, but it's always an act, and it never lasts long, 'cause I always come back when I need a new song, and I'm tired of this, and the way that it feels, I'm not there anymore.
All right.
This has never been real, we're just all
She's going for it.
and all fall apart.
Oh,
I
boy.
don't know what to do anymore.
We're saying it all now. Okay. Oh, hello. I was hearing some reversed stuff in there. Okay. We got a whole 2 minutes left of this song, and we're pretty much through the lyrics. What do we got for the rest of the song here? We're letting this shit breathe. Are we building? Feels like we're building. Alright. Alright. We got the mostly... Wait. Yeah, we got the muted drums. We got a real, very metallic sounding guitar here. Really feel it. Okay. Oh yeah, we're getting big. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, bud. I get more Canadian as I fall. I don't know what that instrument is, but oh boy, it's coming in strong. Nice. Drums are going all out. Ooh, that was fuzzy. Okay. Ooh. I love that. Okay. Then we just let that piano ring out. The piano's been here the whole damn time. That's Vortex. Oh man, that was a whole journey there. All right, so the about section says, describes a feeling of certainty that someday she'll be able to escape the seemingly never-ending cycle of a relationship. She may not be ready now, but soon she will muster the strength to let go. And then she said on Apple Music, the song was supposed to be the title of the album for so long, but again, it felt like tunnel vision. This album is ultimately about so much more than a breakup. But I still thought it was a perfect way to end the project. I love that the lyrics are forward-facing and hopeful, like someday I will be strong enough to say no to you, or someday I'll be strong enough to let this go. The gist is, I may not be there yet, but I know I will be. Which, I love that energy. It's honest and it's vulnerable, but it's still optimistic. That's kind of the energy that I have written a couple of my own songs with. Great. Okay. Let's take a look at some of these lyrics, particularly the chorus, which is "Someday I'll be able to let you go, and it's harder when you know all that we know." Or actually, no, the choruses are, it always starts with "Someday I'll be able to let you go." First chorus, the last line is "Someday I'll be kinder to myself." The next chorus ends with "It's harder when you know all that we know." Then the final chorus, "Someday you'll come back, and I'll say no." It kind of sounds like she has already learned her lesson. Like, maybe this isn't entirely empathetic, but I don't understand why she can't let go now, right? This is a choice that she has the agency to make. I understand that it's hard to make this choice, but it is a choice that you can make sooner than you expect yourself to. It's weird because there's a lot of like the idea of like mental resistance is there, but it's also a thing of like it's just a choice to make. If you know that something is the right thing to do, but you keep telling yourself someday I'll be able to do this right thing, that can become a bit of a barrier to just doing it now. You don't need to tell yourself that you'll do it someday. You can do it. You can do it now. The only thing that is stopping you from not doing it sooner than later is your perception of being able to do it. You're as soon as you do a thing, you are able to do it. Especially when it comes to like making these emotional choices. If you're able to like tell yourself that you can do it right now, makes it much easier to just do it right now. I don't want that to sound like I'm not empathizing with her, or I don't want that to sound like you can just do it with the right attitude, but that is kind of what I'm saying. It's a little bit of what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with her. I'm not pointing that out as a problem. It's literally just me giving advice of if you want it to happen, in this case, maybe just do it. Maybe just do it now, right? If it's the thing that you want to do, just do it now. But that was a very, very powerful way to end the album. I really like the fact that she did get big, but she just let it be this instrumental break that we've heard so many times in this album. I love that is a musical sort of piece that she's been making use of, particularly in this album, is just letting the energy of the song speak for itself, and just letting all that wash over you really speaks to kind of her trust in her own songwriting, and that really, really comes through in this album. Really big fan. I liked it. I love the fact that she went and made it. I still think the 5 Seconds Flat is probably going to be my favorite, just because it appeals a little bit more to my tastes in music. There are just certain things that she does in that album that really fit into what I particularly enjoy in music. This older will probably be an album that I maybe revisit a couple times. It very much feels like the kind of album that you want to listen to all in one shot, but also, could enjoy bits of it as I go through my life as a nice chill vibe. But I think it helps for me to get into the mindset to enjoy these chill vibes when I know that I'm just listening to the whole album. So definitely a good album. Not necessarily my favorite, but a really, really strong project from Lizzy McAlpine. So that'll be all for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have your own thoughts or interpretations of these songs, I would love to hear them in the comments. If there are any artists similar to Lizzy McAlpine, whether similar to this album or to 5 Seconds Flat, that you think I would enjoy, definitely let me know. in the comments. I know some people requested for me to listen to 5 Seconds Flat, and the only reason that I haven't done that is because I've already listened to the album many, many, many times. Maybe I'll get to a phase where I want to revisit certain albums that I'm a huge fan of and have been very influential in my music tastes. But until that time comes, suggest some artists that hopefully I haven't heard of, and we'll cover those. And when I decide that I want to revisit some stuff, some things that I've already heard, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Until then, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, you can click the like button. Helps me out in the algorithm. Leave your thoughts, as I mentioned, in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, now's a great time to do that. I do this. I do a lot of gaming. I do stuff with my friends. It's a great time. You got a nice mix of stuff in here. We got something for everyone. If you want to support the channel in a monetary fashion, you can head on over to my Fourth Wall site, where you can make one-time donations if you want. You can become a regular member and get some perks from that, such as uncut reactions, certain videos that just didn't make it through YouTube's copyright system. I'll be putting blooper reels up there for all of my audio theater series. Might be worth your time. You also get into the Discord and things like that. I would really appreciate it. I also will give you a shout out at the end of these album reaction videos if you become a member. So if that entices you, would love to have you support the channel. You can also buy merch over there as well if you would want to do that. In either case, highly, highly appreciated. And yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you later.